Might want to turn your mic on to push to talk, just so that the stream doesn't hear your keyboard.
Good call. Or I'll just mute it. I have a button on it, and then I'll just unmute, I guess.
Alright, so it looks like we have everyone here, so I imagine we'll be starting pretty soon, unless any teams have subs they're going to have in the spectators. So, fam, how much do you know about these teams? Because I know pretty much nothing.
So Kale has 2 members of the G9 LOL, which is a AHGL team, a tournament. With other corporate teams such as IBM, Facebook, Apple, Red Hat, and they're the tank duo. So they're the solid foundation of the G9 LOL. So let's see if they can carry this team to victory. And on the other team, I'm not quite familiar with them, but they're the team to beat.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I'm a bit familiar with Uber Driver and Versity because I've played against them before in, I believe, both last year's Zerowatch tournament and HGL, but I'm unfortunately not familiar with anyone on the Google Dive team. But they've come in as the number 6 team, so looks like they're gonna put up a fight against Uber and Versity and the rest of Kale. I guess specifically experienced Trankaleity. I think we should just call them Kale. That's too long. Alright, so looks like we're about to get started here. So I don't think we mentioned it, but we have TJ USB on camera right now. I'll be providing some initial commentary, but Fantastic and I will be doing most of the casting here. But this is both our first times, so we're gonna learn as we go. Alright, and we're starting.
오아시스에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
So this first map looks like it's going to be Oasis Garden? No. Yeah, which means it can probably expect maybe some Pharah play, because this is a very popular Pharah map, although I'm not quite sure, honestly, whether either team has any Pharah players. It does look like Plow Monster on Dive was looking at Pharah, but decided to switch to Reinhardt instead.
It looked like both teams wanted to run Brig. Brig is also very good at tough matches. So let's see. Looks like they're almost mirroring. One team is going goats. Okay, we see some goats.
Yeah, looks like
Goats
Dive is going to be running a pretty typical Goats comp with triple support, particularly with that Brig and triple tank, whereas Reds looks like they're going to be starting off in a more traditional 2-2-2 with 2 tanks, 2 damage, and 2 supports.
However, off.
Does look like Team Kale is deciding to go for a more divey approach, because they're running some dive tanks along with Tracer and Lucio. We'll see how that works out against dives. Oh, looks like Red's getting the first
Driver
pick.
took the first pick. Main healer is down. Blue team looking very scarce on healing.
Looks like Red is just kind of winning this first fight and will be taking first point pretty decidedly. As I was saying, it's going to be interesting seeing the Dive versus Goats matchup, because Dive can work against Goats if you, but only if you're really coordinated, because Brigitte and a lot of the tanks that you run with Goats just kind of make it really difficult for Dive characters to get anything done, because that Brig stun is pretty much instant death for any Dive character.
Looks like they're going for the close borders battle.
Blue's coming back in, but looks like Red is going to burn their
Shatter coming in
to try and get it.
Shatter committed. And it's a 3K from Falcon.
Once again, looks like Team Kale is going to win this fight pretty decidedly and start getting close to about 50% point control. It looks like even though Kale burned 2 or 3 ults that last fight, they still have 3 left, whereas Dive doesn't have any ults up at the moment, although it does look like both Moira ult and Diva Bomb will be up shortly. And in response to the Dive, it also looks like Team Dive has switched to a Far Mercy combo in order to try and get...
Diva Bombs committed. Dr. Sushi picking off adversity. In response to the Super Saiyan, a beat was dropped. Oh, and the res pulls off. Explosion. Res. Tire coming in. Get 3.
The fight was looking to go in Dive's favor until Falcon got a 3 kill with that tire, but now it looks like Red is going to take the first round pretty decidedly. 100-0.
점수 0대 1.
So what do you think blue team can improve on?
I think they need to focus a bit more, because the Uber driver and Falcon were just kind of able to get free damage off and get picks, whereas blue seemed to just kind of run in without any focus on our target and just get picked off over time.
And it looks like Plow Monster's gonna switch over to the Hanzo.
3, 2, 1.
Blue,
At-
2라운드.
red seems to be sticking with pretty much the same team. But Blue's going to more of a stationary
Shield
comp by
break.
switching to the Orisa and switching to the Hanzo to get some good shield damage because that Storm Arrow can just shred shields.
Expulsion going into close quarters, trying to
Really deep. I think that's gonna be too
corral.
hard. Oh, he's still somehow alive, and
somehow, yes, and the Rhine goes down.
looks like the Brigitte went a bit too deep. Didn't get killed, but the rest of her team weren't able to help her and are now picked off. Blue is taking this first fight pretty decidedly, and will get first point.
So it looks like the shield break is working for the blue team. It's just so much damage.
Yep, that Hanzo Junkrat combo is constant damage and will break Ryan Shield very fast. So the red Ryan was just kind of standing out in the open and letting the shield break, and against this comp you can't really do that. You gotta play corners.
Okay, Uber driver getting Plow Monster off the high ground. Very good. Hero getting explosion. Super Saiyan coming out of OK.
That first pick is allowing red to just come in and clean up the rest of the blue team, and it looks like they're going to take the point back with, after about 50%. However, at the very end of that, it looks like Plow Monster managed to get 2 picks, so if the rest of Google Dive is able to get back the point quickly, they can take a 4v6. Korean Hanzo comes out as well as a looks like every ult pretty much. Blue's burning a lot, but
Falcon with
one,
the 3K. Holy moly.
yeah, they burnt 3 ults to try and take the point back, but then that one tire just kind of stopped the push immediately. So 3 ults burnt for not a whole lot.
Blue team still has about 2 or 3 more pushes. Let's see if they can group up. Looks like Falcon's Bam took out Plow Monster.
You know, with Hanzo down, they're gonna have to wait for him to get back. There's not much point in 5v6. He's gonna switch to Roadhog, so he's gonna keep a lot of that same shield break, because Roadhog puts in a lot of damage, but he's gonna trade a bit of his mobility for a lot of tankiness. Ryan shields down, see if Blue pushes in. They try to, but are immediately hit by both a grab and a shatter, followed
And
by
the
pulse
pulse
bomb.
bomb connects 4.
That's a team fight over.
That's over. Uber. Massive play by Uber. Doesn't look like they can touch.
Blue's gonna be unable to touch this, so it looks like Team Kale is going to be able to take this first map 2-0.
It just seems that red team has so much
최고의
organization with their ult combos.
Yeah, that's true. Team Kale with the red team is having a much better ult economy, so they tend to only a few ults per fight, whereas Blue seems to be burning pretty much all their ults at once, which can win you a fight, but then you have nothing after that. Or even in the case of one of those fights, they burnt everything, but then weren't able to get anything off it because one ult from the red team was able to take out half their team at once.
I feel both Junkrats did very well with their tires, each getting 3Ks almost every tire.
right, so it looks like Team Dive is going to be able to choose the next map, which is going to be hybrid. What do you think the next map is going to be? My bet is on King's Row because that seems to be everyone's favorite.
Hybrid or Eichenwald. Eichenwald's very, very good.
Oh, so it looks like the next map is going to be
Oh,
King's
King's
Row.
Row. Oh, okay, good thing. Bet any money. Well, it looks like they synchronized their player icon before they were too. So let's see if this is one of the characters. Looks like they're discussing about who's attacking and who's defending. And they chose attack. Blue team. Wait, blue team is. Now
So
they switched.
Google Dive is going to be on
Google
attack
Dive.
first with Team Kale on defense.
Now, do you think there's some strategy of picking attack versus defense?
They tend to offer. I mean, if you pick attack first, then you'll kind of know what you need to do on defense in order to win. Whether you'll need a cheese or something like that. But the same kind of goes for attack. So if you know that you only need to get first point, then you can run something cheesy on attack. I don't know. It varies team to team. I think a lot of people tend to prefer defense first. Personally, I don't really care that much though. What about you?
I prefer defense because even if they wipe us, at least you have the opportunity. Yeah, I prefer defense because if you can't full hold them, at least you get to finish them.
That's true. All right, so we're going to get started here shortly on King's Row.
왕의 길에 진입합니다.
So considering Google Dive ran a far briefly on Oasis, and we're going to wonder if they're going to try and run one here on King's Row, because this is also a very good far map. But at least
I agree with that.
initially, it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that. Looks like they're going to try to start off with a Widow Junkrat, because the sight lines on first point, especially from spawn, are great for Widow on attack.
And on defense side, it looks like they're running Zarya and Rhine. And Uber's going to be on the hit scan. So it looks like Uber is going to be the one countering the Widow. Let's see if Plow Monster pops off.
Yep. Looks like Kale's going to be running a standard 2-2-2 with Ryan Zarya, McCree, Junkrat, and Moira Zen. So good balance of a bit of shield break with the Junkrat, some range with the McCree, and overall just pretty balanced. Whereas looks like Team Dive is going to be fairly similar. They swap out the McCree for the Widowmaker and the Zarya for the Diva.
3, 2, 1. 공격이 시작됩니다.
And they're off.
Like Cloud's gonna try and get a pick here before they go in. Isn't able to find anything. But Dive's shield is both Reinhardt shields are down, but it looks like I'm pushing in.
Expulsion going into the charge, meeting counter charge. And it
Kale
looks like
is able to repel the first. With the counter charge going in, the Zarya bubble really helped there because they were able to keep their Rhine alive, whereas Ghoul Dives was picked off from being knocked down.
Alright, we're seeing no team or player changes.
Dives into
Expulsion. Okay, we're going Super Saiyan from Trankaleity.
Dives.
Expulsion went down. Give it D-Max on Dr. Sushi. Looks like fight is over.
Yep, once again, that first pick on Reinhardt allows Team Kale to clean up the fight, although they do lose Zarya at the very end there, so if Google Dive can regroup quickly, they would have been able to push in 5v6, except their Zen managed to get picked off at the end there as well, since they lost that advantage.
Kale's ult economy looks very healthy.
Yep, they're currently at 4 ults to the 1 left on Dive, although they did manage to pick off Kale's Reinhardt, which is now allowing them to push in. And Kale's Junkrat ult is shut down. So it looks like Dive is going to get at least 1 tick here, and they're cleaning up the rest of Kale, so it looks like they're going to get the whole point here.
Looks like Kale got good spawn for their entire team. Let's see if they can regroup and take an early fight.
And actually there, in that last fight, even though Dive only 2 ults, whereas Kale had 4, neither team after that fight had any ults left, so Kale managed to burn 4 ults trying to defend, but weren't able to hold on to the point.
Now Pawn Monster with his dragon connects with none.
Even with that blown ult though, there's Dive is still holding on to 3 ults.
Dr. Sushi in with his ult gets none. Really good shield by Hero.
Cloud Monster's getting a couple picks, which is allowing his team to push in, and Kale wastes their Rhine Shatter just directly into the enemy Rhine shield.
He was able to connect, but his teammates were not able to capitalize on the shattered enemies behind the Rhine.
It looks like Dive is going to be able to take point 2 pretty much for free. Didn't really have to burn in very many ult, and pretty much just walk the cart straight through. Still no changes from either team. Looks like pretty much. Kale is gonna try and hold this last corner.
There's no shield to shield this shatter. Oh, and the shatter comes in.
That combination of Tire and Shatter makes it is able to dive 3 kills, and even with the follow-up grab from Kale, it doesn't look like any of the dive members are going down, so this fight is actually now in the favor of Kale with that Tire and that spawn advantage. Got Adversity switching to Hammond very briefly. Looks like probably to stall the point, going in for a couple kills after that as well. Like
Let's see if he's going to switch.
Yeah,
yes,
he's going back to
Adversity.
switch.
Yeah, he's looking like he's going to switch. Okay.
It looks like
He's
Uber
going
Driver
back.
also swapped off the McCree onto the Hamza.
So it looks like they're going for the Dragon Grab combo.
Yeah, if you can get a good grab in, that's pretty much a good, easy team wipe, even with the Zen ult. That'll counteract the Zen ult pretty much, so any damage you get on in the gravel, in the grab, like Ryan swinging it or anything like that, will just be damage that can't be healed pretty much. Dive is able to win the Ryan battle, but then loses their Ryan to the enemy. Like, Kale's currently up one, able to get a couple of picks.
Fire gets none. Uber Driver going in to clean up the kills.
Last points like this are always really hard to take, just because the defender's spawn is so close to the final objective. Like going into this fight, Team Kale is gonna have the ult advantage with 3 coming up on 5 ults, whereas Dive is a bit behind, although also coming up on 5 at this point. Kale's able to pick off Mei, which
both teams both missing a teammate. Let's see if they're going to push.
it probably won't, just because the spawn advantage is in Kale's favor right now, but it looks like Ryan pushed and baited the shatter.
That's huge! A Shatter Diva Bomb combo. Tyre also committed.
And that's all that's left now is the Moira, and she's not going to be able to stall a Karma. Yep, and she's down. So there's going to be one last attempt at a stall from Kale, but with that Mei ult on the point, there's not a whole lot of chance of them getting to it. Yeah, there we go. So Dive is able to take the point with a bit of time left, which is highly beneficial in these types of maps, where as long as you have any time left, you get a second attempt at attacking if the enemy team also manages to finish the map.
Looks like a classic hit Q to win. Unfortunately, Kale had to use their ults when they were pressured and they were not on point.
Yeah, that Ryan Shatter Diva Bomb combo at the end there was what won them that fight, I think. Like it won the previous fight and made it so that they would have to trickle in order to try and touch point.
I think OK did a very good job contesting the point as Moira, constantly using Fade off of cooldown, being hard to hit.
Yeah, given the circumstances, they did a good job stalling, but there's only so much one Moira can do a team of 6. It looks like on defense,
we're sticking to the Mei.
Yeah, Dive is going to be sticking with the Mei, which is pretty strong in this first choke here. Just because it can completely block off that section. If you're not expecting it, you're going to have your team split in half, which is pretty much a one fight.
Falcon switching over to the Pharah. Probably saw that there's no hit scan.
Yeah, even without a Mercy to pocket Zafara, I think this is a pretty strong pick, just because there's no hit scan to do anything with Zafara, and they can just get some poke damage in from distance and break that Ryan shield. And once that's down, they can go in with an advantage. Or Adversity can just get a pick on the Junkrat. It's currently 3 picks
For Falcon.
For Kale. Yep, this is a one fight for Kale. Take first point pretty easily.
Cloud switching over immediately to the soldier to contest the Falcon Pharah.
거점을 잃었습니다. 화물을 저지하십시오.
Normally, Soldier's not quite enough to deal with Pharah by himself, but because there's no mercy pocketing Pharah this time, I think it's enough, because that hit scan damage is enough to either kill her or at least make her retreat when she's not being constantly healed. However, it looks like Kale is going to be going into this next fight with a 3-ult advantage. So, as long as they use their ult effectively, it's probably not going to turn out too well for Dive. Pharah ult comes in, gets one, but dies to the Soldier in the process. It looks like Dive is cleaning up, except Grav Pulse Bomb gets 2 for Kale, and it's allowing them to start winning this fight. So Kale ended up winning that fight in the end, but they did have to blow all their ults in order to do it. If Dive can get back to the point in time, they might be able to stop the cart before second point, just through having more ults.
Diva Bomb going in and gets 1.
Junkrat Hatter didn't get anything, but a Ryan Shatter is used in turn. Currently even on cart. Looks like Dive might be able to stabilize this. Yep, the Cloud Monster and McCree is getting a couple ticks. And this is now one fight for Dive, and they're able to stop cart for second point.
Uber Driver has switched over to the McCree.
And Falcon has swapped off the Pharah now that Plow Monsters and two headshot and a body shot from McCree will kill a Pharah instantly. So good swap there.
Adversity has the grab ready.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot to follow up with other than just, slash damage from the Junkrat and try and swing in. A preemptive ult from Plow Driver gets 1, but then he ends up getting picked off over on that McCree. Grab from Kale comes out, but it's they aren't able to follow up because of the tire from Dive. Looks like Kale's just cleaning up here. Kaladin's gotten a few picks, and that fight with tire, I think he pretty much single-handedly won that fight for Team Dive. So, Kale's still got 2 minutes left on this point, so still plenty of time left. And Kaladin starts off the fight getting pick on Ryan with a Rip Tire, and Dr. Sushi follows up getting pick on Uber Driver. So once again, Dive is going to take the fight and burn off another 30 or so seconds from time.
So what do you think needs to happen for Team...
I wish we could see the names.
Oh yeah, I forgot which red team
Kale.
is.
For Team Kale,
For Team Kale, yes.
I think they just need to, one, spread out whenever a tire starts coming, that those tires doing a lot of work. And two, just do what they just did and start the fight off getting a pick, and then use their better ult economy to get an advantage, which seems to be what they're doing right now. They're currently up 1. Although, Dive managed to turn around and get pretty much clean up the entire team. Yeah, I think that Uber Driver might want to swap off of the McCree onto something that has higher, more sustained damage, just to help with the Orisa shield. They have the Junkrat, but burning down even faster is even better. And they don't have a Pharah or anything like that that really necessitates the McCree.
Very nice at Bursting, using his personal bubble.
Paladin's still able to get a pick with his left click. Uber Driver able to get follow up with his Deadeye, and currently it looks like Team Kale is able to get advantage in the fight and is starting to clean. And they are, so they'll manage to take point 2 in overtime. However, they did have to burn everything to do it, whereas Team Dive still has 2 ults left and a Moira ult coming up soon after that.
Falcon will have a new tire available for this push.
If you can get a pick with that tire, it'll allow them to get really close to the end, but looks like he's gonna hold it for now. Both a Rip Tire and a Diva Bomb come out from Team Dive and able to pick off 2 members of Kale. So it looks like
the fight is over.
Yes. Looks like Dive will be able to stabilize at the last corner. And not much advantage in ults right now. So 1 fight left with 30 seconds. Kale will be coming into this with a Shatter and a Deadeye, so if they can land that Shatter and follow up with the Deadeye, it can win them the fight. But
Very nice.
it's a 3-person Shatter, but no Deadeye to follow up with it. They are able to pick people off without the Deadeye, and he's able to demech the Diva with it instead. So Kale manages to win that fight, but it's not over yet because of how close the spawns are. It looks like Dive is going to contest one last time. Drops the Supercharger, which seems, combined with his Bastion, seems to be doing not quite enough damage against Team Kale, because Kale seems to be winning this fight. Dr. Sushi managed to get a pick with his Diva Bomb, but doesn't seem like it's being enough. The kill feed's all blue, and it looks like double tire, but it looks like Team Kale is going to manage to take the final point in overtime. However, since it was in overtime, the best they can hope for is a draw at this point. Wait. Was it not in overtime? They have a minute left.
Oh, it's because Team Dive did not complete it with over a minute.
Huh.
So each team gets an additional minute.
Alright, so never mind. Scratch that. Both teams have a second chance to attack then. However, Kale will be on attack first because they did have less time left. Looks like they'll be starting off right away with the Hanzo Pharah. Probably hoping that Team Dive doesn't have any hit scans starting off like last. However, they will be Team Dive will be running a Widow this time. So. Looks like Kale's gonna be pushing in straight away.
Looks like they're going to push through Hotel.
Push through Hotel and manage to not die to the Junkrat.
Hero with the pin. And it looks like Team Kale might be able to clutch this.
They're only up 1 at the moment right now, though, because now 0. It's even. Oh, this
And Kaladin lost his tire.
Uber driver gets 2 picked, and
Oh no,
looks
they
like
need to. Yes, they need to cap the point.
they're
Stepping off
currently
the point.
yes, they're currently up both in terms of spawns and players.
And it's a
And
2K shatter.
looks like Kale's going to be able to clean up this fight, but they're going to be capping the point in overtime, which means they're not going to be able to leave the payload at all once it starts moving.
거점을 잃었습니다.
This is looking very good for Team Kale.
Yeah, it's surprising the number of times you can get like a full push or almost a full push in overtime on maps like King. So even though they're in overtime, they might end up getting another 2 points off of this. Especially with the tool to bench that they have right now. However, it looks like Team Dive is going to bring out something a bit cheesy and go with the Bastion to try and stop the payload right about here at the first corner. Bastion is able to pick off Pharah, but then Uber Driver's Dragon managed to pick up 2, and it looks like, and combined with another pick, it definitely looks like Kale is winning this fight and will continue almost to the end of the second point. Actually, with these number staggers, it looks like they're going to be getting second point completely, probably. Yes.
Unless someone can touch, maybe Plow Monster is going to touch.
Well, Plow Monster is backing off, so they're Team Kale is going to end up getting a point in overtime. And Expulsion decides to go in solo and dies very quickly for it, followed by Plow Monster. Looks like Team Dive, I was going to say Elizabeth Scatter, but they managed to get 3 kills with a single tire. This is what they need to stabilize it. That Discord Orb really helps you win the Ryan battle. If you can get the enemy Ryan to drop his shield, means that Team Tails is going to play really carefully in order to make sure that the Ryan doesn't get picked off immediately. They are able to pick off Expulsion on Ryan, but Kaladin picks off Brig, and now it looks like Dive is. But Dr. Sushi's demeched and Uber Drive. It just kills all over the place.
Looks like Adversity stepped on the Junkrat droppings.
Yep. And at the end of it, Dive does manage to win the fight. It was messy, but they pulled through, and they're able to cap the first point with 30 seconds left, which means that they'll be able to have 1 fight before they're in overtime. Unless Kale decides to hold back and not engage until overtime starts.
And it looks like they have 1 late spawn. So let's see if they choose to fight this 5v6.
looks like they're just gonna back up and let their Junkrat come. Probably wait until this first corner to engage.
And now overtime is here, and
Falcon's tire
the
gets blown up
tire's
immediately.
blown up. A long range shatter gets none. Covalescence is committed to his fight. Okay, he responds with his own.
Falcon's tire comes out, looking for something, doesn't get anything though. Does look like Dive is managing to get an advantage. Grav Dragon is thrown out, which picks off 2, and the next Diva. This could be bad for Dive.
Dive needs to keep people on the car.
They're trying, but all they got left right now is a Moira, whose fate is now gone, and that is it. Kale managed to take the second map as well.
최고의 플레이.
And here we see Uber's play of the game. Storm Arrow goes through, killing both healers.
That allowed Kale to take the first point in overtime. Just going crazy in the Hanzo, getting 4 or 5 kills.
Quite impressive to see his DPS. And the next map is which?
I'm not sure of the type, actually. But I believe Team Dive gets to pick again, since they lost the last map. So currently Kale is up 2-0 in the series. And I'm not quite sure offhand what Dive can do to get a game off of them at this point. Because Kale's just overall play is solid. The ult economy is pretty good. And Dive is certainly close, but not better enough in order to take any wins off of them.
Yes, I tend to agree that because Kale, every time they have a grab, they always combo with something, whether it's a high noon or a pulse or a dragon.
Yeah, one thing that Dive could do to counteract that is they know that Kale is playing Zarya a lot. They should when they think Zarya has her grab up, they should be spreading out so that grab doesn't get the entire team, doesn't allow entire team wipes. It'll at most get 2, which is still not good, but at least at that point you would not get looking at a complete team wipe from a single.
And although Kaladin's very good at Junkrat, do you think supercharging adversities Zarya is being a hindrance to their gameplay?
It's hard to say. A charged Zarya is very scary. I think that currently it is a net negative for Dive, just because they don't seem to be dealing with the Zarya as well as they should. If you're running a Junkrat and feeding charge to Zarya, you need to make sure that she dies fast so that she can't do anything with that charge. But adversity is just kind of allowed to stick around for most of the fight and build up ult charge and get kills, and that's really hurting Team Dive right now.
Yeah, and it seems that Team Dive, they are not running their own Zarya, so they're running Diva and Rhine. And it seems like Expulsion on the Rhine's having difficulty staying alive.
Yeah, that's partially, I think, in part due to their choice of supports, because they're running a lot of Zen and Moira, and Zen's certainly not known for being able to put out a whole lot of healing, and Moira can do that. but she's limited in terms of how long she can do that. So if they're having issues having their main tank dying, I'd like to see them run either a Mercy or an Ana to try and get more sustained healing throughout the entire fight.
So it looks like they're going over to Hanamura for the third map, and Dive is choosing to attack. Now, what do you think we can expect from their attack on Hanamura?
Probably much of the same on attack. I expect Junkrat, because Kaladin seems to really like that hero. And for Plow Monster, I'd expect probably Hanzo again. I don't expect a whole lot of change on offense. On defense, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up running a Mei, because Mei on the first choke of Hanamura is very strong, particularly if you don't know how to deal with Mei as a team.
Now, we saw Dive run goats on Oasis. Do you think it's a possibility that they run goats again?
It's certainly a possibility, but since we haven't seen them run it anywhere except that first part of the first map on Oasis, I'm not sure how comfortable they are. And it's in situations like this, it's better to play what you're comfortable at, not try to necessarily go with what you think is like necessarily stronger in terms of like competitive play. You want to have your players in what they're most comfortable with.
So Dive is on attack. Looks like they're going with Diva Rhine.
Oh, it does look like they're going to be running goats.
They are.
I was wrong.
Quite
and
surprised.
Looks like Kale's going to be running a standard 2-2-2. With a Brig as the off support, it might be a little bit low on healing. It'll certainly be tanky, but Moira's going to have to be healing most of the team. And if the fight goes on for too long, she might just be unable to heal because she's all out of heal juice.
Team Kale looking to depend on their Grav Hanzo ultimate combo. Very good for Team Whites on 2 CP when we're battling close quarters. Quick Sonic reveals Team Dive's composition.
Dive's just going to go straight in, do the dive. They'll actually go around to the right and are going to try and take the high, although that's stopped by the Rhine, and now it's turning into a brawl on the inside. It looks like Kale is able to pick off the Brig and the Moira. And the rest of the team retreats back out the gate.
After losing 2. Now, it seems like they couldn't decide if they all wanted to be in that building or on the outside, because it seems like they did split.
Yeah, that's definitely something you don't want to do. With goats, you have to all be together and you have to all be focusing on the same thing. So I think if they'd all committed to running out and engaging outside that building, they could have won that fight. Or if they just all decided to go high ground, they could have gotten a good position. But instead they split and ended up losing the fight first.
So it looks like they're committing many ults to this fight.
Yeah, kind of the same thing there. Looks like Ryan wanted to go on point, and the rest of the team wasn't able to follow up. And Kale was able to clean up the fight by burning a couple ults.
It looks like they're switching over to the pharmacy.
I think this is probably a good choice because the goats really didn't seem to working out for them, and you don't want to stick it on for too long. Otherwise, you get to the point where you can't really switch. Otherwise, you're going to get such a large ult disadvantage. And also, Kale doesn't have any particularly strong counters to Pharah, so this Pharah Mercy combo should be able to do a lot.
Interesting team composition. They're not running a shield tank with Zarya.
Yeah, instead they're deciding to run 2 off tanks. And that doesn't seem to be working out too well for them. Kale was able to get 2 picks pretty quickly, and they burn grab, but they end up winning the fight pretty handily.
Oh, looks like they're going to stagger Dr. Sushi. Let's see if he can make it to the edge. He doesn't.
My ultimate is ready to be unleashed.
So even after burning grab in that fight, Kale's still up 2 ults currently. With a Shatter, a Dragon, and Coalescence to Dive's Diva Bomb. So I think Dive just needs to kind of do a dry push here and try and build up some ults instead of trying to necessarily win the fight unless they can get a pick or 2 for free.
Looks like they might be using their tire. The Junkrat's getting into position.
So Res burn bringing the Pharah back, so it's now an even fight, and Kaladin manages to get a pick on Brig, and it looks like Dive is finally getting some picks here, so they should be winning this fight. They definitely have an advantage right now.
Just adversity left. Let's see.
That's a dead Zarya, and first point for Google Dive.
Looks like blue team is choosing to back up and hold the top left position.
No switches for them, even though they definitely have the time to. So they guess they're comfortable in what they are on what they're on right now. Dive is just pushing main, try and poke them off the high ground with that Pharah, and drop down. Managed to get 2 with the Pharah ult, and then 3rd with just Pharah rockets. It looks like they're going to be able to clean up this fight super quickly.
And also with the tire.
Tire doesn't get anything, and Ghoul Dive is able to take the 2nd point extremely quickly, which is what you really need to do on 2 CP maps like Hanamura. If the defending team is able to stall on point, there's a good chance they'll be able to stabilize and prevent you from capping.
Yeah, Google Dive did very well being patient and going on straight to point, grabbing and comboing with the Pharah ult and keeping Pharah alive.
Yeah, I didn't manage to see it, but I imagine they had the Pharah or the Mercy pocket on her and the Zarya bubble just to keep her alive during the ult.
Yes, they did, and they also defense matrix the Pharah. Typically, when the Pharah goes in and ults, she dies.
That Pharah pocket allowed them to win the fight pretty easily and get them 3.5 minutes left over in time bank, which is great for Hanamura.
That is a healthy time bank. Typically, that would be enough to cap both points.
I will Reinhardt. You know, I had a poster of you on my
And it
phone.
does look like Google Dive is going to be running a Mei on D. But in return, it looks like Kale is going to be running a Pharah Mercy of their own. The Hanzo, it looks like only 2 of Mercy switching off of him, and so only half the team is actually affected by that Mei wall, so they might be able to capitalize on that.
Defend object for the assist. Together we will not fail.
Now Cloud just used her wall so she cannot wall off the enemy team.
But Kale didn't push it in when she used it, and it has a surprisingly short cooldown of, I believe, 10 seconds, so it's already off cooldown. So if they try and push it now, they're probably going to end up getting walled in half. May goes for the wall, but misses.
Hero did a good job baiting out that wall. But it looks like their team is split up. They're not going in together.
Hero did a good job baiting that wall, but then got a little over aggressive with that charge and ended up getting picked, which is now allowing Eagle Dive to stabilize. Although this Far Mercy combo is doing work, and Team Kale has been able to get a few picks, and it looks like they're going to be able to take first. Looks like the rest of Kale is backing up, so this is going to be first point to Team Kale.
Objective A captured. New defense point. Objective B.
And it looks like Koyaza on Google Dive to switch over to Ana to try and get a bit more sustained healing in. Since there isn't a diva on Team Kale, she doesn't have to worry about her grenades being eaten. However, still, Falcon on Far is just able to get so many picks being uncontested.
Now, since this is 2 CP, if you do not get a team wipe, highly likely you do not cap.
Yeah, Falcon was able to do a lot of work, but ended up getting picked off at the end. And it looks like Dive might be able to stabilize here just because of how close their spawns are. It looks like they are. Unfortunately, Kale was not able to get a single tick, so they'll have to start over from the beginning.
Still 5 minutes in the time bank. Leaves plenty of time for a few pushes.
It also looks like they'll be coming to this next fight with the, actually no, they're currently tied in, so never mind. But they do have some more impactfuls with that grab dragon combo. So if they can get a good grab, they could look to take the point right here.
Dr. Sushi gets Zolord, but Zolord quickly rezzed by Oakley.
Hero charges on point by himself, is slept by Ana.
Cloud
And
Monster committed his ult, his visor, however taken down quite quickly.
And Uber drivers doing a lot of work, and it might allow them to continue this push despite losing their Rhino. Far is also currently uncontested, doing a lot of damage. But despite that fight looking like it might go towards Kale's in Kale's direction with the number of picks Hanzo got, they are still pushed off that point without a single tick, which is 2 CP in a nutshell.
Player Reno is just so good being a main tank and staying alive, receiving massive heals from his Ana on the back right. Ana is going to be pretty much uncontested if they do not run dive.
Yeah, and if Kale keeps going after Player Reno and they don't end up dying, then that just feeds more ult to Ana, which Nano Boost charges pretty quickly, so that means they could potentially have a Nano Boost almost every fight. Dr. Sushi's bomb comes out, but doesn't get anything.
It looks like they're having difficulties pushing top right. just so much damage coming from Kaladin down the small corridor. But it looks like adversity has broken through and taken control of the high ground.
Currently alone, so I don't know how long they'll be able to hold it. Yeah, they back off. So yeah, that's the problem with trying to push this upper right path when the enemy team has a character like Junkrat. It's just you can't get through that hallway without taking tons of.
And it looks like they're switching gears. They're going main. An Uber driver with the headshot snipe.
That combined, he gets a good kill, but much of his team is pulled off the bridge by the ult from Marissa. And combined with a tire from Kaladin, I don't know if this push is going to be able to continue.
Although the fight was already won, G-Dive also committed 2 ults to that fight, but they did also bait out the shatter from Hero.
I think that it's not the best trade, but I think it's okay in this situation because that Ana ult's going to be charging so, and while the soldier ult is nice to have, it's not one of those team fight winning ults, so it's not a huge loss to have lost it. Whereas that shatter can be extremely important.
Hero goes in deep. And then Dr. Sushi's bomb gets 2.
They, Team Kale tried to go for the grab dragon combo, but didn't get anything in the grab, so it ended up wasting 2 ults for nothing. And with less than a minute left here, it looks like Kale might, or not Kale, Dive might be able to do a full hold on this second.
And it looks like Team Kale has switched over to the dive, Lucio and Greg. Very interesting team comp. I wonder if there'll be enough healing for Team Kale. And a quick pick by Plow Monster.
Seems like it was not enough healing. The adversity dropped extremely quickly there. Plow Monster cleaning up on this soldier. And looks like this is probably going to be it. They might, Kale might be able to get one last touch in, but they're going to have to be trickling in after that. And on 2 CP, that's probably not going to cut it. Actually looks like they're not going to be able to touch, and they aren't. So, that's now 1-2, Dive Kale.
Play of the game.
Now here we see the play of the game by Plow Monster. Now this is the grab combo.
You can see the entire team pretty much just keeping that far alive and allowing it to get her to get those 2 kills with her ult, and then more cleanup after that with her rockets, which won them that fight and that point.
Now it's looking like a very close game now.
Yeah, in that map, it seemed like Team Google Dive's ult economy was a lot better than both ult economy and ult placement was a lot better than Team Kale's. They constantly had 3 or 4 ults in reserve for if they needed it, which is good to have. And I didn't really see any whiffed ults or anything like that, except maybe a Diva Bomb, but you generally just toss those out whenever. And also, there seemed to be some pretty aggressive charges from Kale, which allowed Dive to focus on the Reinhardt and get a pick before the fight really started going, which won them a lot of fights.
Yeah, I agree. They weren't running a Lucio, so it's very hard to keep up with a charging Rein. But I did like the switch at the end for the dive. However, I believe they weren't diving. The tanks were not diving together, so the team was definitely split.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird. Like it wasn't like a full dive or anything because they were running dive tanks, but they still had a Brigitte for one of the supports, and I don't think either of their damage heroes were particularly dive heavy. And so while the tanks were able to go in, there wasn't a whole lot to follow up with them. What I would have liked to see is trying to go full dive with maybe a Genji Tracer or a Soma, and then just try and dive that Ana and take their main healer out of the fight, because she was a lot of times just off in the back corner alone, and a coordinated dive would have been able to pick her before Dive was able to do anything about it. Looks like our next map is going to be Dorado with Team Kale defending first.
Dorado. Initiating match.
So what do you think Team Kale is going to run?
Aside from that dive, attempted dive at the very end of Hanamura, they've pretty much been running the same Ryan Zarya comp with usually the Junkrat or Farah and a Hanzo or McCree. So I expect they're going to be running the same thing here pretty much. It does look like they're going to be looking for a Ryan Zarya,
Ready for battle.
Hanzo, Junkrat, and Brigitte Moira. And Kale looks to be running much the same they have been before, although Plow Monster is bringing out his Widow. Great on this first point with these super long sight lines. Widow can play pretty safely and get a pick, and that's the fight right there. Also looks like Koyaza is going to be sticking on Ana here. I guess they decided that extra healing really worked out for them on Hanamura, so they want to keep it here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
I'm escorting the payload.
Escort the payload.
For your own safety, get behind the barrier.
Looks like Team Kale is holding the high ground.
Hero
quickly
Ryan shield
losing
down.
his
Ryan
he
falls down.
falls down. Let's see if his teammates can help him survive this.
They are able to get down in time in front from dying, except delayed death. It's now currently even, but Kale is
Down one.
yeah, Kale is down one, and now down two. So it looks like Dive might be able to just win this fight pretty handily and get first point. Although with Ryan back, they might be able to stall this long enough for the rest of the team to come back and hope for a second fight.
Hero demeching Baby Diva's mech, and the tire gets two.
Looked like the fight was starting to go Kale's way with those two picks, but then that tire just completely stopped that, and now it's going back again in Dive's favor. And they're just cleaning up here, and that is going to get them first point.
Now it looks like they're going to have the same issue if they're not going to run like a flanker, because Ana is just in the back giving his team all the heals he needs.
Yeah, I think in this case they should either see about running some dive and taking out the or maybe even just a wit of their own to try and pick her off, or just maybe run an Ana of your own, have your own large amount of healing. If you have better nades than them, then you can deny a lot of that Ana's ability to heal just with your own nade.
And it's a combo getting 4 out of in that grab.
Yeah, Kale managed to get pretty much a team wipe, but they ended up burning 3 ults for that. They burned Grav, Dragon, and Coalescence. That Grav Dragon was very good, got them 4 kills, but that Coalescence I feel was unnecessary and should have been held, because now they only have that Ryan Shatter for this next fight compared to 3 ults from Dive.
Now let's see if they continue to push, because they already lost 2 and they do not have a Diva mech. Oki going in for the big grasping, trying to get ult charge.
And Dive just falling back and letting their 2 picked members and they're going to go for another push now.
Yeah, they're about to get their Diva mech back. So let's see if they can...
They get their mech back, but they lose Ana in the process, so they're probably going to have to back up.
Looks
Although
like
Paladin
investing
burned
their
the tire and manages to pick up Brig with it. Diva Bomb comes out as well and gets Moira. So burning a lot of ults, but they're getting value for it, so they're able to push the card a bit. Versity now on Monkey here, and just tickling the Widow to death in the cart, and gets out with a free kill.
Now let's see if his team can compose themselves for the next attack.
Yeah, currently they're up a little bit because of that pick on Widow, but if they can't regroup, they're not going to be able to capitalize on that. And Versity is caught out alone, gets out with his life, but it was scary there. He was purple and surrounded by several members of Dive.
Now I'm really liking this switch by Adversity. He single-handedly jumped in, killed the Widow, jumped out for healing, then jumped back to disrupt the enemy team for his teammates to come in and help him win the team fight.
Yeah, Winston can be incredibly disruptive if you play him right. Downside being that you can die super easily if the enemy focuses, but it looks like Dive is having a bit of trouble focusing him when he jumps in.
Yeah.
Get picks and get out without a whole lot of support.
Now it didn't look like Adversity got much out of that ult. Maybe just for disrupting, because they did not continue to proceed. And Uber Driver taking out Kaladin's tire.
Yeah, he wasn't. Adversity wasn't able to get a whole lot of kills or anything with his Primal Rage, but he was able to distract the enemy team and allow Uber Driver to get a pick himself, and it ended up burning a good 20 seconds off the clock for a fairly fast charging ult. He's already back up to 40%.
60 seconds.
And a 3-man shatter by Hero.
It's just Orisa left and she's down, so that's pretty much a team wipe for Kale. So they're going to be holding this payload pretty strongly at this first corner here. About 30 seconds left, so this is probably going to be the last push from Dive. And they're coming into it with nothing but a Mei ult and maybe a Diva Bomb if she's able to get some extra damage on.
On the kill side, looks like they're going to have Falcon's tire.
He's getting a tire, and Primal Rage is about to come up, which
And
is
May
great for
used
stalling.
her ult and got Brig in it, but her team is not able to follow through.
Yeah, that Mei ult was super deep and managed to get one freeze, but no one was able to follow up.
Oh, and
Diva
that
Bomb?
Diva Bomb got won by Uber. He was trying to get away, but he got pulled back by the Orisa pull.
Despite the questionable Mei ult, they are able to win this fight, but Kale might be able to come back and stall, because they currently have 4 members close enough to touch Heart. And a couple more on the way, but the Mei wall blocks them off and makes it unable to touch Heart pretty much.
That was a very good Mei wall, disrupting Kale's contest.
Looks like Kale is completely on the retreat, backing up almost to the respawn, while Dive is able to push the cart through the gate and starting up the hill.
60 seconds remaining.
Helden sterben nicht.
Dr.
That was a
Sushi's
really good response to the Diva diving backline. So now, without a Diva, let's see if the team Dive is going to proceed. And looks like they're going to retreat and wait for their Diva.
Yeah,
Uber
that Diva
Driver
was-
caught out.
Overdrive in front of the cutout, so now it's a 5-on-5 with the Diva coming back. So Dive is probably going to be pushing this pretty hard. Zero goes in for an aggressive charge and is punished for. And Kale currently on the retreat. However, Diva Bomb comes over and gets 2. As a huge bomb. Adversity burns Primal Rage to try and stall, but against 6 people from Team Dive, there's not a whole lot he can do.
It looks like they're going into overtime. Both tires going through. Dive gets 2. So it looks like Adversity is going to be able to contest one more time.
Yeah, Team Kale currently just having to trickle in and try and stall that payload and hope to get a pick, but Adversity's down, Hero's coming in, gets walled off, he's alone on card. That's dead Reinhardt. Moira might be able to touch, probably won't be around for long. Yeah, it's just Dive cleaning up at this point, and one final stall from Junkrat on Kale. Cameron comes out, but at this point, I think this is still Dive's round. It's just a matter of burning, well, not burning off any time, because they're already in overtime.
Overall, a great push by G-Dive.
Great push, but also at the same time, pretty good on Team Kale to burn off as much time as they did on that second point. They were able to get it so that they were forced into overtime, so Team Dive will only have a minute on their second attack if Team Kale manages to push to the end. So it looks like Team Dive is going to be running much the same as they did on attack when they're on defense, except they're swapping out Diana for. I guess they decided that they wanted that ability to res or maybe damage boost the Widow or Junkrat over the higher sustained healing and the anti-nade potential from Ana.
Over on Kale's team, looks like they're going to run Zen instead of Brig. So they're going for a Rhine Diva tank composition.
What's a bit strange is Adversity is now on Ryan instead of off tank like he has before. So Hero's on the one on Diva, and I don't believe we've seen him play anything but Ryan so far. So this would be...
When they on Hanamura, they switched at the very end. He was playing Diva.
1. Attackers incoming. Stop the pain.
And it looks like you're right. They're opting for the damage boosted Cloud Monster on Widow. And very good. Hero denying that high ground spot from Diva.
And it looks like Dive is actually opting not to hold the high ground and instead try and hold the choke immediately.
Cloud Monster gets 1. And he's up there uncontested.
He's uncontested, but he's also doesn't seem to be hitting his shot, so he's not getting a whole lot of value from. He is managed to pick off 2 in the end, though. So.
Yes. And it looks like this fight is over. G-Dive is committing their Valkyrie to this fight.
I think there was a bit too much invest in that because the fight was already won at that point, and Kale will be able to come in with a coalescence for the next fight. Cullen tries to burn tire, grabs Uber driver on Zarya. So that will stall out Kale's push for a few seconds. And Oki burns coalescence despite already losing 2 people on his team.
So it looks like Team Kale is opting for the triple tank. 2 healers and 1 DPS combination.
That's
And now
strange, especially considering they're running a Zen Moira, so there's not enough healing to keep 3 tanks up when they're rushing into the enemy team.
Now Hero's doing a good job contesting the Widow while his team pushes below, but he loses his next. Falcon able to take down the enemy tire. Wow, headshotting Baby Diva. Looks like it's a lost fight.
But Diversity ends up burning Shatter at the end. Doesn't look like he's going to get anything for that. Oh, he does demech Dr. Sushi. So that will be good for the next fight, but I don't know if that was worth burning a Shatter for, and also staggering Ryan. They will have an advantage in terms of both ult and players have been. Hero goes in to try and deny Widow space, but is met with a Junkrat and Brig in addition to the Widow and ends up dying for it. Still, despite being down to Diva, it looks like Kale is trying to push it and make use of that home advantage they have. Grab, nothing to follow with. Falcon tries to use Tire, but gets destroyed immediately. And despite the ult advantage, looks like Google Dive is still holding strong. That payload has barely moved since that first push.
Uber gets Koiza on the Mercy. So if they regroup quickly, they can take this fight 6v5.
But with only 10 seconds left, they're gonna have to rush just to even touch point.
Well, Diva does have boosters, I believe.
And drops bomb to try and stall, and ends up getting Orisa for it. Looks like currently Kale has the upper hand in this fight.
Shatter is
solo shattered. Dead, and
looks like they cap. That was looking very close for Team Kale, but they do end up capping the point for being able to fight for the next point. And it looks like Team Dive is missing two teammates, so it looks like they're opting to regroup slightly. Team Dive has 4 ults ready to use. Now they use the sights, Widow, Valk, and Bongos. Falcon being able to take his counterpart's tire apart.
Two-man grab, three-man grab, nothing to follow up with. So Uber driver managed to get a great grab, but no one in his team was able to follow up, so it ended up being completely wasted in the end.
Just what I needed.
So Uber, I think, was planning to switch anyway, so he switched from Zarya to McCree.
And this made me picked up pretty quickly after that switch. Versi back onto the monkey that seemed to work well for them when they were on. Preemptive panel comes out to make sure everyone stays alive in this. It doesn't look like a whole lot of damage is coming out from Team Kale, so I don't know if that was necessary. Looks like Kale does manage to slowly win out that fight, just slowly getting one pick after another, and they will push it towards the end of second point. Although, looks like Team Dive will be able to touch before they cap, and unlike last time, there will be no Mei wall to block them off. Although Orisa gets picked immediately, so no actual touch happens.
Now that's what we like to call a G9. Adversity really far in the back lines, able to jump back to safety and get heals from his teammates.
Yeah, just dive, just unable to punish Winston for these aggressive dives.
Adversity has his ult ready, dives into the back line, so gets out to safety. Diva Bomb gets Falcon.
Adversity does manage to get two, like, tickling them enough though.
Looks like Team Kale is committing to this fight. And the Diva Bomb gets two. Convalescence also gets two.
So Kale's definitely won this fight, but again, on these last points, it's pretty easy for the defending team to stall. So they'll have one last fight here before the end, but Adversity pops Final Rage and tries to knock everyone back into spawn. A couple are able to make it on point, but Uber Driver getting picked on the Pharah means they're up immediately in the fight. Four more picks, and that is the fight pretty much.
Explosion comes in for the contest, but it's not enough. This is a very close game. Both teams capping with 0 time left in the bank.
3-3. Switching sides.
Now, what do you think the teams are going to run as their comps? They only have 1 minute each.
I think on. Let's see which team is attacking first. Actually, I think they're probably gonna. At least Kale is probably going to end up. I think running the same thing that they did on defense because they were able to stall out that second point really well with their comp. But it looks like not a whole lot has changed on either team. Exactly the same comp as the beginning as last time for Dive, and pretty much the same for Kale as well. Both teams just comfortable on these Ryan Zarya and Arissa Diva comps.
It looks like
Actually, Cloud Monster
just switched over from the Widow to the Pharah. Looks like they're gonna go pharmacy.
I do like this, but they will have to watch out for Uber Driver because even when you're pocketed by Mercy, a McCree can take you out pretty quickly.
Looks like Kale is going to opt for the low ground contest. Cloud Monster going for the flank.
Driver able to pick off that car. Now defense has an advantage, and with 15 seconds left, if they can capitalize on this, that will win them the fight. Hero gets another pick, and then D-Mech. Currently looking good for Kale.
Oh, incoming tire coming from the flank and gets Zolord. Oh, but it looks like Team Kale is losing their grip.
Yep, that far Mercy damage just allowed them to push, allowed Google Dive to just push through and win that fight. And it doesn't look like Kale's going to be able to touch, so now it's now on the second point. See if they can do the same thing they did on the second point last time.
Yeah, it looks like they used their ult way too quickly, and Team Dive was able to regroup and also res.
And going into this next fight, they're going to have both Pharah ult and Arissa ult. Although Kale's coming with Shatter, Deadeye, and a tire with almost a grab as well. and with no defensible set, the grab can be super deadly. Although
Oh, and they
no one
got
gets on
off
the point.
This is a classic G9, fellas.
Nerf this.
Score 3-4. Switching sides.
Still not a bad push for only having a minute.
Initiating.
We'll see if Dive can hold them on first point.
Looks like they're going to run the same comp for Google Dive, and Team Kale is also going to run a similar comp, a 2-2-2. Oh, Uber is switching from the McCree to Hanzo, probably for comboing with Zarya ult.
That and also probably banking on them not having a Pharah this time, so you don't necessarily need the hit scan. Although Uber has been getting a number of picks on the Pharah as Hanzo, so maybe he feels that even if they are running a Pharah, they don't need that hit scan to deal with.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Escort the
Hero back on the Rhine, or Diversity back on the
Zarya.
Zarya. And again, holding at the choke instead of at the high ground. Uber Driver is able to just melt through that Orisa shield with his Storm Arrows. That might be another reason why he switched to Hanzo, is just the ability to melt through Orisa shields. And once that's gone, there's not a whole lot protecting the team. Falcon able to pick off Orisa, but it's immediately res back up. Orisa looking to get some damage over the shield from high ground. Not able to get a pick though. Thought comes out, but looks like Team Kale is able to get 2 picks and destroy the tire. So if they keep this up, this is the first point for them. 3 picks. Definitely looks like Kale's going to take first point. And with how...
Sorry, Adversity's flank did pay off, getting both the Junkrat and his tire and the Widow.
how little this cart has to be pushed, Dive's got to regroup right now and pretty much hold at this. They can't allow the cart to get even up the hill.
And looks like Adversity's pushing forward, getting aggressive. He almost has his grab. Team Kale's approaching 6 ults. Let's see how these...
Monster and Hammond trying to help the Kale's point. Adversity manages to get pick on the Mercy, and the kill feed's very blue. It looks like Kale is going to be able to take this fight. And once they kill his Hammond, that will be the match.
And they still have a Riptire. Really well managed ult usage from Team Kale.
Yep, and with that, they win the match 3-1. I think. Is it best of 5?
Play of the game. Double kill. Triple kill.
So it looks like Team Kale takes the win. Really close game. Each map we saw, it was very close. Both going into overtime each time.
Yep, both teams played quite well, but at the end, it looks like Team Kale just had a bit better health economy, a bit better picks, and it ended up letting them get the win.
So up next, Team Kale is going to play against the winner of
I believe Fire Maze versus I'm gonna butcher the
Rakugan Katura. Yeah.
Ryuga Wagateki
Kudo. Something like that. But anyway, yeah, GG's to Team Kale. Looking forward to seeing them in the finals.